Welcome everyone to the Online Ocean Symposium. Next week is Shark Week, Discovery Channel's feeding frenzy of shark programming that capitalizes on the public's fascination for these ocean predators. From its beginnings in 1987 to today, Shark Week has had some really jawsome programming and some rather scientifically disappointing pieces. It has only been really recently that through social media and strategic outreach, scientists and conservationists have been able to capitalize on this phenomenon, reaching a huge audience. In this hangout, joining me today is a fully packed panel of experts. So we'd like to take this opportunity to remind viewers at home that you can ask questions of us directly through the Q&A application on the Hangout tool. Just click on the button and it'll prompt you. You'll be fine. Let's dive right in, since we're already a little bit behind time. One World, One Ocean is one of the groups that has partnered with Discovery for their Shark Week programming, specifically on the conservation side. I'd like to welcome as our first guest, Christina Gonzalez. Welcome to the program.
Hi.
So what is One World, One Ocean for those who aren't familiar?
Well, One World, One Ocean is a multimedia campaign that was started by this film company, McGillivray Freeman, to help protect the ocean. We want to tell the ocean stories, and with this campaign, we're using digital media, film, just any way we can to educate people and get them inspired to help protect the ocean.
Fantastic. How did you get partnered with Discovery on Shark Week? What does that actually involve?
Well, our partnership with Discovery kind of started with our reputation as a film company. They saw that we had this ocean campaign, and we had this great content. I think even before last year's Shark Week, we had some really cool video about sharks, and they came to us and asked if we could create some stuff for them, educating people about sharks. So we did that last year, and then this year we've given them a bit more educational video and graphics just to get people interested.
So right now I'm sharing a site that's on, or a page that's on the One World, One Ocean site. Get Schooled on Sharks. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, this is our new shark initiative on our website. This year for Shark Week, we decided to give a bit more information about sharks. We've got videos, some slideshow fun facts, a couple infographics, and we even have a media toolkit for anyone, communities or individuals to go to, and they can download photos, videos to share on social media.
That's fantastic. I'm looking at some of the toolkit right now. Let's look at this hammerhead right there. Look at that. Great photo, great little infographic. Fantastic. So what are One World, One Ocean's plan for Shark Week specifically?
Well, this year we have our new initiative. We have the toolkit to get people to share. I really like the idea that Upwell had to get anybody and everybody interested in talking about sharks to this Shark Week. So we gave that content for people to use. We have the 10 facts you didn't know about sharks poster we created this year, just general facts and a couple facts about how sharks are important to the ocean. They're vital for the ecosystem. And they're really not these monsters, and they're actually really cool animals. Yeah, and then we're also sending out an e-blast to all of our subscribers to get them to send out information about sharks this week.
That's great. Really great endeavors. I guess the last question I have is, what do you hope viewers will get out of Shark Week, specifically through your partnership and your work with them?
Well, I'm hoping that people will learn about the important roles sharks play in the ocean. Just even learning anything new about sharks, their biology, their habits, how they interact in their environment. They're really amazing creatures and really dynamic.
Well, we're going to look forward to some of that awesome programming. The you mentioned Upwell and what they were doing. Joining us next is going to be Rachel Dearborn from Upwell. Upwell, for those of you who don't know, is an organization who monitors online conversations on the ocean and teaches lessons regarding what that data shows. They hold annual Sharkinars, and Rachel actually led the last Sharkinar, if I believe that to be correct. Welcome to the program, Rachel. How's it going?
Pretty good. I'm excited about Shark Week.
So. Why is Shark Week important to the ocean community?
Well, like you said, we measure and monitor lots of ocean conversations on the internet, and everything from ocean acidification to overfishing to sustainable seafood. We monitor whales and sharks, and we basically pull in all of the conversation, and we notice that there's this huge spike that eclipses everything, and it's Shark Week. It's the biggest moment that, yes, look at that graph. It is the biggest spike in all of the ocean conversations, and we like to say it's the Super Bowl of the online ocean conversation. So if there's this many people talking about a ocean creature at one time, we say, if you have any stake in shark conservation, you should be participating in that conversation.
That's a great endeavor. I actually helped, not helped, but I participated in the Sharkinar and got to see some of the great insights that you guys shared. You actually put together a toolkit for saving sharks during Shark Week 2014. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we try to make it as easy as possible for people to participate. So what we've done is we've created a little cheat sheet. It has the full schedule of all of the shows with our interpretation of whether they promote fear or science. That's what you see right there in the middle, and that is printable. So we say just print it out, put it next to your TV or your computer or however you watch Shark Week, and refer to it. And we also have tips on how to engage in the social media conversation. We've got a ton of data about where people talk about Shark Week, mostly Twitter, what hashtags they use the most, and then our biggest takeaway from all of the data is that it's a fan conversation. People are really excited about sharks and they love sharks, and it's not actually a fear-based conversation. So we really tell people to promote content that is very celebratory.
Well, that's really great advice, and in the Sharkinar you actually mentioned how engaging people with humor and engaging people with certain facts in a friendly manner was very powerful and very good for engagement. What other tips and takeaways would you like scientists and those hoping to spread knowledge on sharks have or take from your lessons and going into Shark Week? What do you want them to be able to do?
I say, being positive is a huge thing. I know that a lot of the content can be, to put it lightly, it makes people angry because it's just flat out wrong. And I think the best way to engage with that is to call it out, myth bust as much as you can, but also understand that people like the content, so you can't really tell them that what they like is bad. People don't like to hear that. But we're having another Sharkinar, just in case it's not clear. A Sharkinar is kind of like what we're doing right now, but just about how to talk about Shark Week online. So we're doing another one tomorrow. Everybody should come. You can go to our website. There's a link to sign up.
Well, I'll definitely have to check that out. And anybody viewing at home who wants to learn more about how to spread the word on sharks and help with the shark effort through Shark Week, check that out. Next up, I want to welcome back a shark scientist who has had great successes with Shark Week and actually has made the name or handle Why Sharks Matter a world-renowned title. Welcome back, David Shipman.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Thanks again for coming. You actually participated in Upwell's Sharkinars. Can you speak to some of the lessons you learned and the results you've seen?
I have participated both last year and this year in the Sharkinar. It's just a fantastic service that Upwell provides to the ocean science and conservation community as a whole, keeping track of this huge amount of big data concerning people talking about the ocean, both from a science perspective, from a conservation perspective, and really just anything. And there's a huge amount of data out there, and they do a great job of tracking it and making it accessible and interesting and relevant to people.
So the relevant data for you, what specifically did you see from the lessons that you learned there in implementing them with your own successes? What can you speak to for other scientists hoping to help engage the public through Shark Week?
Well, as Ray mentioned, Shark Week has the largest spike in online conversation of any ocean science or conservation topic of the whole year, which means regardless of the content on Shark Week, which much of it is troubling, some of it is like the special that Paul is going to be in, is likely to be very good. But regardless, it results in people talking about sharks more, and you can use that interest to get people talking about the more important issues in sharks.
So, speaking about the more important issues in sharks, what would you say is the crux of your shark research? What can you speak to a little bit about what your background is and what you do, and what your interest is in sharks?
Sure. Well, I'm an ecologist by training, but right now I'm in an interdisciplinary environmental science program. So that means using both natural science and social science methods to attack an environmental problem. And I'm studying the ecosystem role that sharks play in coastal South Florida, meaning how do they influence the food web and what will happen to the food web when they're gone, and also what do different stakeholder groups think the ecosystem role that sharks play in coastal South Florida is.
So with that, what type of activities or Shark Week science-based programming that you're seeing on the calendar that was listed by Rachel, Upwell, that sort of thing, what are you excited about coming up from your perspective?
Well, I was absolutely thrilled by the Alien Sharks special last year. Alien Sharks was made by it was a partnership with Conservation International, and it was everything that Shark Week used to be, everything that I wish it was again. It's just a celebration of amazing, weird biodiversity and crazy behaviors in sharks. No fear-mongering at all. Focus on the scientists, focus on the conservationists working to protect these areas. And I was thrilled to see that they're making another version of that. And Paul's work will be a great fit for that.
Well, I'm very excited, and we'll get to Paul a little bit later in our hangout. One last question for you. Are there any important Shark Week activities that you are participating in that you would like the viewers of this hangout to be aware of?
Well, I've written some articles about Shark Week that will be coming out either later this week or early next week, focusing on a variety of topics. There are some major issues with Shark Week, as has been briefly alluded to here, that the most egregious of which is the megalodon nonsense. They're airing another special that is falsely claiming that Carcharicles megalodon is not, in fact, extinct. And that's led to just a huge amount of public concern and fear. And it's a completely made-up documentary, and it has no place on something like the Discovery Channel. So I will be actively combating those myths. Just to give you a sense of how pervasive that is, I won the Florida Marine Science Educator of the Year award last year for my efforts speaking to high schools all over the Southeast. And I spoke to over 500 students. At not one of these was I not asked about megalodon.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that, because that's a perfect roll into my next guest. Next up, I would like to welcome back to the symposium a wonderful writer who covers science, the ocean, and other awesome things for Discover Magazine, Christy Wilcox. Thank you again for coming back on. I believe that you have a couple of words to say about megalodon and a couple of other programmings.
Well, thanks for having me again. My sort of relevance in this all is talking about the different specials, and the megalodon one in particular. I got a lot of notoriety last year for coming down really, really harshly on that special. And of course, they are making another one this year. And if you look at their website, on their list of programming, it's listed right amongst Alien Sharks and all the other science specials as if it is just another science special, which of course is extremely aggravating.
Yeah, you actually released an article in July called Fraud, Deception, and Lies. Can you speak a little to that?
Yeah, so one of the things that Shark Week did this year as part of their PR for Shark Week was to fake a sighting of a shark in Lake Ontario. And when it was released as sort of just a random person's YouTube video, and it went really quickly viral in the area. People were getting really upset and really worried about bull sharks in Lake Ontario, and how did they get there, and how many are there, and do we need to worry about this? And it even got the local politicians were making statements about, if you see a shark, report it so we can figure out what we need to do. And then, a week or so later, Discovery basically comes clean and is like, yeah, sorry, that was part of our PR. And that in particular I thought was just over the line, even more so than anything else that they've ever done, because it really served only to cause fear for sharks and to make people talking about sharks in the worst way possible instead of in the best way possible, which is exactly what Upwell, all of these other people that have talked are trying to do.
That's a very great point. I was wondering if you could actually speak a little bit more to that. Based off of the programming that you've seen or are aware of that's going to be coming out, can you actually take a little bit of a comparison of this year's programming to last year's programming, just in regards to like how it's addressing the audience, the science involved, that sort of thing? I know you haven't seen it yet, but just your initial impressions.
I think there are going to be some good specials. I mean, as David mentioned, Alien Sharks looks really great, and I'm really hoping they do it right. Others, I think, seem to be playing again up on fear and misinterpreting science and even just doing things wrong. Some of the specials that are chasing down, the one killer shark or the big guy that we're going to try to find. I mean, those sorts of things are just crazy. And I mean, and zombie sharks, where they're talking about tonic immobility, which is a really, really fascinating thing that just happens with sharks. But it just seems like they're doing it the wrong way in every way for a number of the specials, and it really, really worries me.
That is a little bit concerning. What advice could you give to Discovery or some of the people in charge of programming to make their programming a little bit less terrifying, I guess would be a better way to put it, and a little bit more engaging with those who really want to learn about these awesome animals?
Well, I think they've got all the resources in front of them. I mean, if you look at what Upwell's doing, if you look at what, all of these people that have talked already, they have the tip sheets, they have the real facts. I mean, Discovery Channel still puts out facts that just simply aren't facts, that are wrong about sharks in their special every year, things that a quick Google search would tell you are wrong about sharks. And I can't help but think it's just laziness or ignorance on their, intentional, willful ignorance on their part, that they aren't taking advantage of all of this information that is available to them.
Well, let's hope that this year we have a large abundance of awesome scientific programming. Thank you for coming on, Chri. We'll get back to you with a couple more Q&A. Next up, since we've been talking about this program the entire time, I would love to introduce Paul, who is a shark scientist who is actually starring in Discovery's Alien Sharks, premiering this Shark Week. Welcome to the program, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Where are you broadcasting from right now?
From Moss Landing.
Nice.
Yeah, in California, kind of by Monterey.
Fantastic. So what is the research that you do? What specifically do you study when it comes to sharks?
So I have been studying kind of, poorly known deep-sea sharks in the southern Indian Ocean. So what I do is I go out on a commercial fishing boat, and they go out in the southern Indian Ocean, and they're out there trawling for months at a time, and I collect the bycatch sharks. So just the ones they catch by accident. I collect them and I work up their life histories because there's very little known about them. So I take diet, sex length, maturity, reproduction, stuff like that. And I also take samples for age and growth and genetics and multiple paternity. And then also a lot of these specimens turn out to be new species. So I've been taking them as specimens for museums and stuff like that and descriptions.
Oh, fantastic! So you're working with Discovery on this this edition of Alien Sharks. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah. So I mean, I did. Well, they contacted me through David Schiffman. So they called him and they were looking for somebody doing deep sea weird shark stuff, and he asked them to contact me. So I think I owe you a steak or something, David. But yeah, they called me. I was just working in the library, and they're like, they said it was Discovery Studios, and I had no idea what was going on. And they asked me if I was working on any projects, and I went out in 2012, and I had a pretty successful trip. And I've been trying to get out there again, and I told them I was trying to go, and they asked if they could send a cameraman, which I was kind of surprised because it was a 60-day trip. But yeah, they just tagged along, and it was actually a lot of fun. It was kind of stressful at first because I'm not used to being filmed all the time or anything like that. But no, it was fun, and actually I just got back about a week ago.
Huh. That's So what can you actually tell us about this expedition and about the program?
So, I mean, like I said, this was the second expedition out there, and the southern Indian Ocean is not very well explored. So, I was out there collecting data, and I mean, hopefully the program will show a lot of the science, a lot of shark diversity, different species, and, no shark attacks or anything like that.
So you said that this is the second expedition. The first one was around like 2012, 2013, correct?
Yeah. I left in February of 2012.
So right here we have a article from Britannica that actually features a couple of photos. Here you are right here with a what I guess is a false cat shark, and there's another photo here about with you with a couple of different shark species. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like finding these deep sea creatures in the bycatch?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was really cool. It was really fun. The sharks will come up and you never know what's going to be in the nets, and you just empty them and you'll find something you've never seen before, like one of those big false cat sharks, or something really rare, or on lucky days you find a new species. And it was really cool just to see them all fresh right out of the nets and be able to take data on them. Sometimes if they came up alive, I'd be able to take the data, put them right back overboard, and see what the survivorship was like. Hopefully they made it back down.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah.
So what do you hope that your partnership with Discovery will bring about? What do you want the audience of Alien Sharks to walk away with?
Well, I mean, kind of like David was saying, I hope the episode is like the episodes we watched when we were kids, full of lots of different kinds of sharks, lots of information, and I just, I hope people get an appreciation for the diversity of sharks and a real passion for the, actual science and different species, not just, shark attacks and drama and everything like that. So I really hope people, I know there's a lot of controversy going on right now about the quality of Shark Week shows, and I hope this is one of the good ones that people watch and they get real excited about, the different species and the science. So I really like a lot of excited kids to watch a show and really enjoy it.
Well, I'll tell you what, based off of some of the photos of the false cat sharks and some other ones that I've seen, I'm going to be watching it like a kid myself.
Okay.
Speaking of working relationships with scientists and kids, my next guest is a shark scientist who works with the jawsome group, Sharks for Kids. Welcome to the program, Derek. You have been working with Sharks for Kids for a while now. Can you speak to what Sharks for Kids is?
Yes, thank you for having me on today, Andrew. So Sharks for Kids is actually a fairly new group. We're a nonprofit education group, strictly set up to try to educate folks, and particularly kids, about sharks. We've got a great dynamic group of folks put together, scientists, videographers, photographers, and we're all, our sort of idea and our goal is to try to work together with all of these different groups and actually be able to help promote sharks, promote conservation, and especially education with kids to be able to make these animals, like we all already know, the amazing critters that they are.
So what type of programming do you actually do with kids? What type of outreach, that sort of thing?
All right, so we've got a lot of different programs going on. In the last 8 months, one of our big goals is trying to reach kids and talk about sharks, conservation, and all those kinds of things. So over the last 8 months, we've been able to contact and talk to about 12,000 students around the world in 20 different countries. Nearly 8,000 of those have been via Skype chats to different classrooms around the world. So we've, on our website here, we put together a number of free curriculum packets, infographics, all kinds of different things. That, one of our goals, we're hoping to make shark education something that's a little bit easier to folks to actually bring into the classroom, for teachers to put into their curriculum, and make it a little bit easier to talk about these animals.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm very glad that you have some really great work dealing directly with kids. Can you tell us a little bit about the scientific work you do? I read that you study the shark community dynamics, foraging patterns, that sort of stuff. Can you speak a little bit to what that means and what you are actually studying?
Yeah, a lot of the work that I did, especially for my PhD, I was focusing on trying to understand sort of the role that sharks play. I mean, we all talk about this all the time, that sharks are very important, but I was trying to quantify what they do and sort of how they fit into the ecosystem. So I was very fortunate to travel to a place called Shark Bay in Western Australia. There we've got a huge number of tiger sharks and also sea turtles, dugong, all of the animals that tiger sharks eat. And so over there we were able to figure out sort of how not just sharks eating turtles or dugongs, but actually how the behaviors of those animals change can actually impact that ecosystem. So all the way from the tiger sharks down to the seagrasses and things at the base of the ecosystem.
That's some really great work that you're studying. I wonder if we could go back a little bit to your outreach and work with kids. I got a couple of photos here that I'd like to share. Can you just speak a little bit to what is going on, say, in this one right here?
All right, so this is something we were able to travel as a group for Sharks for Kids to Guelph, Ontario in Canada just a couple of months ago, and we had an absolutely spectacular trip. We went up there to the Wellington Catholic School District. In 5 days, we visited 20 schools and talked to nearly 5,000 students during those 5 days, everything from kindergarten up to seniors in high school. This is just one of the shots from that trip. We got a big gymnasium full of students there. We all talked about the different work that we do, sharks in general, and just had a blast talking to kids and answering questions about what we're doing.
So I believe that these are some other photos from the shark tour. This one seems to be from Canada. This one is with what's the group? Shark Girls, something like that.
This is Jillian Morris, who is the founder of Sharks for Kids. They're holding a little shark there. And this is actually taken in Bimini in the Bahamas at the Shark Lab. And so this is her showing a couple of folks the little shark pen here, and teaching them a little bit about it in the field as well as in the classroom.
Well, that's really fantastic work that you're doing. Really great to have you participate in our hangout today, and really happy to be able to speak with you about this. Since we've gone through everybody, I'd like to turn it to our audience. Again, I'd like to remind you, those of you watching at home, quite a few, that you can actually ask our panel direct questions through the Google Hangout. So, first question actually comes via the page instead of the Google Hangout Q&A apparatus, but this is from Paloma Schmidt, and it asks, do you think that if Shark Week didn't have the fear-based specials, that they would attract the same type of fan base? David, looks like you have your hand up.
This is the nonsense that they tell me when I say, why not more like alien sharks? They say, oh, well, we need to get people interested in sharks. If last year taught us anything, it's that people will watch any nonsense whatsoever if you put shark in the title. And anyone who thinks that a pure natural history type talk or type show can't attract an audience, explain the success of Planet Earth or shows like that. absolutely it would attract the same audience.
Rachel, based off of the data that you've seen, do you happen to know if it's mainly the fear language-based episodes that get a lot more attention, or is it more of just sharks in general? Are there any? Is the data telling us anything about that specifically?
It does. I think there's an echo going through somebody's speakers. Just so you know.
Okay.
I also want to hear from Vicky. But yeah, I think the number one thing is that the first day gets the highest volume, and it's a little less volume the second day and a little less volume the following day, and it just decreases. It does spike when something is being talked about in the media. So if there's, for instance, a lot of media buzz around Megalodon being fake, then you could make a bigger spike. So media does drive it a little bit.
Well, good to know. Hopefully we can take those lessons and turn it towards something a little bit more valuable than fear-based outreach. I actually, unfortunately, just jumped over one of our very important guests. So next up, we have Victoria Vasquez from the Ocean Research Foundation. Welcome back to the program. Sorry for the skip over. We have quite a big panel. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm from the Ocean Research Foundation. Like Derek's group, Shark for Kids, we're a new nonprofit. We started up about last year, had a launch party that went really great, and then I started graduate school, and my professor, or my executive director, went off to have his construction business explode, but we've still been moving forward, and part of the reason why I mentioned our background is I like to call ourselves the underdogs of the ocean community, because basically we got together from a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds that felt that they could do a lot more with the ocean, and that was sort of what we thought was the reason why we needed this nonprofit. So we do research and education, and we tend to focus it on San Francisco and sharks, because that tends to be most of our specialty.
You mentioned your launch party. I got a couple of pictures here. Can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, it was really fun. We had this happen at El Rio, and we have quite a few different people. So one of the people pictured there is actually Crystal Sanders. She's really big on sustainable fishing and sustainable seafood. So she really helped us out with kind of getting that for the party. There's also June Bernard. She's kind of there in the background, and she's really big on sort of the artistic side, as well as Caitlin Ryan. And so what they did for the parties, they kind of helped get the music going and just kind of the right crowd, because, you know, like Upwell has mentioned, it's really important to kind of have these events and make them fun. So we did a lot of shark trivia during the event as well, and winners got a free drink. And yeah, you can see we brought out a good crowd. You know, obviously our intention was science, but we really wanted to make it fun first. I think it's a little easier for people to come out when they know it's going to be fun.
Well, that's definitely a lesson that Upwell taught, is if you want good outreach, make it fun and engaging. So you've spoken in the past about the dynamics and the issues you have witnessed between shark activists and scientists. Can you talk a bit about this and how it relates to Shark Week?
Yeah, this issue kind of drives me crazy. I'm not really sure why this scientist versus activist has really kind of blown out of proportion to this sort of polarizing situation. I was just at this really great talk last night with Michael Stalker and Wallace J. Nichols, and it basically was about the blue mind. So talking about how people are connected to water. You know, if you look at a fish tank, it lowers your blood pressure, but then when you talk about the connection to the ocean, it gets a lot more complicated. And so I think things like Shark Week kind of help reduce that complication. We're not trying to overthink it. I think when we try to overthink it and we turn that sort of ocean into our professions, we start to see how a fisherman and activist can never be the same person, and somehow an activist and a scientist are completely different as well. And I think that the problems with the ocean are so big that when we segregate ourselves into those little groups, it makes it harder to move forward and actually get things done.
So what would you suggest would be a solution to kind of bridge that gap?
Well, I think that there's always going to be disagreements, and I think we have to realize that a lot of those disagreements are the times that you're not agreeing with someone. It can also just be that person. You know, it's not like I hear, oh, you're a marine biologist, and that automatically means I'm going to be somebody's best friend. You know, there's also that sort of human level that I think we forget about, and so you need to kind of find those people that have the like mind, and if you can find someone like that from a different profession, that's perfect. And when you are butting heads with somebody, I think that's when you need to take a step back and kind of figure out where your ideals align again. I think a great example of that is, you know, when you're in graduate school, you have to do a personal statement. And if you were to read the personal statement of a lot of marine biologists, it kind of sounds a lot of like what an activist would say. I grew up by the water. I had a love of the ocean. It's just that, you know, scientists tended to take more of a scientific approach to it, and that's it.
Well, here's hoping that the science can help support the conservationist movement and be used in a positive way for both ends. You know, one thing that I noticed when I was paying attention to both you and David in your feeds was a shark conference in South Africa where there seemed to be this kind of, it seemed like there were actually protesters at the event.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. That, I think, was one of the best examples of this sort of dynamic getting out of hand. So basically what happened is that the Sharks International Conference in Durban was sponsored by the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board. And this is a board that has nets out along the coastlines of South Africa. It is controversial for a lot of people because of how effective it may actually be to protect beachgoers, and the fact that, you know, it's catching a lot of sharks, including sharks that aren't intended to be caught, not the dangerous sharks. And it also catches a lot of bycatch, which includes, you know, sea turtles. Like, they kill about 27 sea turtles every year. So the fact that they had a problem with this was completely fair. And they had some protesters for one day come out with their signs, and me and David actually went and kind of looked at them and took some pictures, and then kind of noticed they weren't that mean. And so I actually went up and talked to them. And so I took 2 videos, which are actually on my Facebook, and posted them there. And I basically talked to these guys, and these guys were really great. They had a problem with the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board. They did not have a problem with the scientists. However, they didn't want people at the conference to forget about the fact that there's these nets there. However, the discussion online was completely different. It was aggressive, it was mean, it was basically, I think at one point they said, if you know anybody at the conference, please give us their information so that we can post it. They wanted to have like a wall of shame.
They did end up posting contact information and photographs of about 20 conference attendees, including me, to the point where the last day I didn't really feel comfortable walking around Durban by myself. And it's exactly as Vicky said, the people that actually came to the conference to protest were totally reasonable people, but the leaders of their group, the people that told them to go to this, were hijacking this discussion and to promote their own extremist agenda. And I mean, I was threatened by these people online, as were many other conference attendees. We were insulted. We were told, we're going to make sure you never get a grant again. We're going to harass your university. I mean, I got maybe 100 emails after they posted my contact info on their website. It's scary, and they didn't seem to, the people who were actually showed up, which was like maybe 10 or 15 people, were totally reasonable. But the leaders of the group that advertised this protest were frighteningly ignorant and resistant to the idea of talking about it. I invited one of the people to come over. I'll buy you dinner. We'll talk this out. And he said, "Would you have dinner with Nazis? I won't have dinner with you."
So I'm a little confused. What was their main complaint about your practices?
Their main complaint was the fact that, you know, the KwaZulu-Natal Shark Board sponsored the conference, and that in a sense, as scientists attending it, we supported that decision. And that meant that we were just as bad as the Sharks Board, and that meant that we were just as responsible for the nets.
At least one felt that it was a conference on how to promote KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board practices worldwide, which is just not what a conference is.
I think what was sad is there's an entire part of the conference on shark control, talking about better methods for shark mitigation. There was a really cool one where this was in Recife, France, where they had GPS buoys. So basically, if a shark got caught in their drum lines, the fishermen would be notified right away. And this turned into, I think it was like 97% survivability for the sharks. So I'm not saying that the answers are perfect, but you know, they're getting better and better and better. And if you just try to scare scientists into not doing anything, the government's going to take over and make their own decisions. For example, a Western Australian shark cull.
Yeah, that is a very unfortunate situation just in general, but they did get a huge pushback online and through various other outreach. You know, this is an opportunity to throw it back to Paul, because if it really wasn't if it wasn't for his partnership with these local fishermen who were catching these sharks through bycatch, he wouldn't be able to have actually, you know, discovered some of these species. And in that instance, it's a partnership between people who might not have the best practices for the local ecosystem, but actually has, you know, a net positive. Paul, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, when I first went out on the boat in 2012, I was kind of surprised because the fishermen were very, very open about everything on the boat. You know, I could go anywhere on the ship, hang out in the wheelhouse, into the factory, into the engine room. They didn't have anything they didn't want me to see. You know, a lot of the time, fishing boats are very secretive. They're worried that you're going to get them in trouble, or you know, I was going to do something like that. But I mean, they let me go through everything on the boat. You know, I went through all the bycatch. They have there's nothing that they want me to keep a secret. So it was, you know, it was kind of amazing, and they do get sharks as bycatch, which is unfortunate. You know, obviously there's no fishery that's perfect out there. You know, but if it was up to them, they wouldn't catch any more sharks again ever, because you know they don't sell the sharks. The sharks actually can ruin some of the fish, the meat quality, and is also a problem on their nets. So you know, the bycatch isn't that bad, and they don't, you know, they're trying not to catch the sharks. But I was surprised, you know, they just let me on the boat, no questions asked, kind of let me do whatever I want.
Well, that's really good to hear that there's that kind of cooperation. Christina, I'd love to throw it to you about the partnership between a nonprofit organization and science, especially, you know, since One World, One Ocean is not just a nonprofit advocacy group, but also a film group as well. Can you speak about kind of partnerships that you've seen with science and with Discovery, you know, the work that you're doing, bringing these different voices together and the different people together? Oh, sorry, 1 second.
All right, I think you can hear me now, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the One World, One Ocean campaign is a campaign run by the film company. It's not a nonprofit. We do have the One World, One Ocean Foundation, which also is a great conservation foundation that goes and finds opportunities to help save the ocean. The campaign itself is a multimedia platform to spread the word about the ocean, to help protect it. Our partnership with Discovery is more or less an opportunity to get more people involved, get more people the information about sharks, and get them aware of what's going on with the sharks and how the sharks are cool for the ocean.
Well, that's definitely a great effort. I guess part of the crux of my question is, you know, through the work that you guys have been doing, you I've been keeping tabs on One World, One Ocean since Blue Ocean Film Festival 2 years ago. But you guys partner with a lot of different scientists and through expeditions, and I just wanted to kind of see if you could speak to how that partnership between your organization and the actual marine life scientists has, borne fruit.
Well, yeah, we have a lot of partnerships with scientists, mainly because of our film reputation. When McGillivray Freeman goes out and does these films about the ocean, we consult a lot of scientists, mainly because we want the information to be correct. And by doing that, we have these films that promote the ocean, coral reefs, all the animals that you see, including sharks, and it's correct information as much as we can. And with One World, One Ocean campaign, we distribute that information with videos, blogs, with all of the background of the scientist partnership.
Well, it's great to pull in all those different voices for that type of conversation. Chrissy, I'd love to throw it to you on your opinion on this type of topic. Can you speak to this at all? You are currently muted. Can you try unmuting yourself? For some reason, I can't control it.
There we go. How's that?
Much better.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think what One World, One Ocean is doing is great, and I think it's wonderful that they have these partnerships with scientists. I think a lot of what Discovery's been doing, separate of them, is undermining those kinds of relationships. And I mean, for example, this year they have a special about sharks in Hawaii and increasing shark attacks. And one thing you won't see in it is any of the shark researchers in Hawaii, because they refuse to work with Discovery. I mean, they just, especially the major labs out here that do shark tagging and shark research and are studying the sharks that are supposedly increasing in attack frequency, and they flat out just, they want nothing to do with it because they know it's going to be misconstrued.
Well, do you think, personally, do you think that is a mistake for the scientists to just kind of cut off that type of relationship, or would it be better to utilize that opportunity to increase, Discovery Channel's, science input?
I think it's a tough position for the scientists to be in, because on the one hand, yeah, it would be great if they had their stuff out there, but on the other hand, if Discovery takes what they say and misconstrues it or changes it around, or flat out just doesn't listen to it or cuts it out, then it's pretty tough to convince the scientists, no, really, go on there, it'll be fine, when they're just going to have their research misconstrued.
That is unfortunate. Hopefully we see more improvement on that for programming, this year and years subsequent. Since we are not seeing that many questions from the audience, I would love to throw it to a group discussion question, which is just kind of a nice, aspect. What has been your best experience with Shark Week? Out of all of the negative sides that you've seen, what has been one of those moments where you're just like, yeah, that's awesome? I'd love to throw it to Rachel, who, not just looks at the data, but also looks at some of the awesome aspects behind it as well. What is your favorite experience with Shark Week?
I've got to say, from my perspective, looking at the past 2 years, it's not just my favorite experience. It's like the thing that warms my heart is that more of Team Ocean is getting involved. Year over year, we've just seen. We started to do the Sharkinar in 2012. This year will be our third Shark Week, and we just keep doubling our participation, and we try to look at, of all of the posts and tweets and all of that we measure for Shark Week, what is the portion of those that have conservation or science-based messages in them. And the year-over-year growth of that portion is much greater than the year-over-year growth of the entire conversation. So we're increasing our slice of the pie, and I think it's because we're all doing this. So, yeah, that's the thing that makes me happy.
That's fantastic. Derek, I'd love to throw it to you since we haven't heard from you in a little bit. What has been, your favorite experiences or favorite experience with Shark Week?
I think, just kind of like sort of what we've been talking about this whole time is just, at least recently, I think just some of that more scientific-based, just awesome shark shows that have, the couple that have come out in the last couple of years. I do hope that we get to see a lot more of that. Sharks are just such an amazing animal to begin with. I don't see any reason to have this fear-mongering and all the other stuff that's going into it. The great thing about what Shark Week used to be is that sharks are just awesome. And so, to be able to show that and have a week of just awesome, amazing shark behavior, the different animals, diversity, all that kind of stuff. I just hope that we see a lot more of that as we continue on with Shark Week in the next couple of years.
That's fantastic. Here's hoping. Christina, I'd love to hear from you. What is your favorite Shark Week experience?
Well, this Shark Week, I know it's not until next week, but I did a lot of the almost actually all the graphic stuff, and for get schooled on a sharks initiative, I prepared all that for this year. So just learning about sharks and getting excited about who they are, what they do for the ocean, and I'm really looking forward to any kind of educational programming that Discovery has as far as that goes. I really like the reaction we get from our followers about how they learn new things every day about sharks, and that's what I think Shark Week should be about.
Here's hoping that that's what Shark Week is going to be about. Paul, love to throw to you. What, in your history has been your favorite experience with Shark Week?
Well, shoot, this one's easy. Just doing the last episode obviously was my favorite thing. But, when I was a kid, I can't even remember what the episodes were, but I was just so amped on Shark Week. I would just sit down and watch every program, memorize every single fact that I could on there. So, just as a kid, I just I can't really tell you what the episodes were or anything, but I just loved Shark Week and all the educational stuff that it was back then.
Well, I really hope that more educational programs like Alien Sharks come up, and that in the future we have an abundance of science programming specifically around all ocean aspects, and included in that Sharks for Shark Week. Chrissy, what has been your very favorite experience with Shark Week?
Oh, goodness. I definitely used to love Shark Week as a kid as well. I love Discovery Channel in general. I was a huge Discovery Channel junkie. I would watch it incessantly, and I always wanted to grow up to be Jeff Corwin or something like that. So I'd have to say that's probably my favorite Shark Week moment or memory. Unfortunately, those happy memories are getting fewer and far between when it comes to watching Shark Week nowadays.
Well, again, here's the hope that Discovery Channel is learning the lesson and is increasing the value of their programming, both on the scientific side and on the keeping it entertaining and educational. Victoria, I would love to hear from you. What has been your favorite experience with Shark Week?
I would say right now, basically this last year and this coming up year, last year we did the Shark Week hangout at a bar, which was really fun with Orf, and then this year having my lab mate Paul have a special on it, and it be one of the specials that people are saying will have a lot more integrity. So I think we're kind of at this turning of the tides. We've heard a lot of complaints about Shark Week for a really long time now, and I think now we're kind of seeing people do something about that, and that those people are us. We're talking about it now, we're talking about it more, and we're making that voice more vocal. And I think that that's going to catch on with the rest of the public, and it's going to make them more aware, too, that they don't want to see shark attacks all the time.
Well, I know that I personally have friends who are afraid to go in the ocean on the irrational fear that they will get attacked by a shark. And it always brings to mind that infographic that went out last year. I believe David actually had a lot to do with this. You're more likely to X than get attacked by a shark, which was very helpful. David, I'd love to hear your perspective. What has been your favorite experiences with Shark Week?
Well, as has been mentioned a couple times earlier, one of the great things about Shark Week from a science education perspective is it gets people talking about sharks, and you can take advantage of that to talk about other issues. I did a Reddit Ask Me Anything last year during Shark Week. It's the first time I've ever done anything with Reddit, and it made it to the front page, and friends that I hadn't talked to in 5-10 years were calling me and saying, "Oh my God, you're on the front page of Reddit." I had no idea what that meant, but apparently it's good. But just getting lots of great questions from people all over the world and being able to answer them. And social media didn't create these questions, but it made it easier for people who have these questions to get them answered by people who know. And it's an incredibly powerful tool for that.
Well, I actually paid attention to your Reddit AMA, and I was ridiculously astounded by the reaction it got. It was huge, and some of the questions in there were very, very interesting questions that I had never thought of. I'm not a biologist, I'm not a shark expert, but some of the questions that were asked in that Reddit AMA were very thought-provoking, for lack of a better term. So we are actually running towards the end of the Hangout, and I first of all want to thank all of the viewers who are out there watching. Thank you for the questions that you have asked. Thanks for the shout-outs on Twitter and various other social media. Want to also thank my panel for joining us today to talk about Shark Week and all the different aspects there. But I want to give them a chance to kind of give their last words on Shark Week and the Hangout in general. So I'm just going to run down the line. First, Christy, I'd love to throw it to you. Any last words for our viewers and about Shark Week?
I guess my last words would be that I watch Alien Sharks and the really good science programs, and don't watch Megalodon, the new evidence. The only message that Discovery seems to want to listen to is viewership. So if you can drop that viewership on shows like that, maybe we'll have a chance at having Shark Week that all of us really, really want it to be.
That is definitely a good lesson. Vote with your view. David, I know we just kind of heard from you, but I'd love to throw it to you next. Any last words on this?
Well, if anyone has any questions about sharks, anyone on this panel is well qualified to answer them, and we live on the internet, where it's easy to find us. Don't just assume because you saw it on TV it's true. Ask someone who knows.
I guess the message there is direct all questions to why sharks matter on Twitter. Derek, I'd love to throw it to you next. Any last words for the panel?
I think just kind of going on what's already been said, there's going to be some great programming hopefully this year. We know there's at least one in there, and I think if we can definitely vote with our viewership, but also like David said, there's a lot of excellent information out there. There's a lot of great groups here represented today, so check out some of those websites. Check out, definitely contact us with any of those questions, and hopefully we can all move forward with a better Shark Week experience.
Here's hoping. Christina, it's to you.
Okay, yeah. Shark Week programming, most of it looks great. I also encourage anyone out there who's watching to go online, find all the information you can about sharks, learn all you can. There's a lot of great ocean conservation groups out there, like Derek said, a lot of them represented today. So yeah, learn more about sharks this Shark Week.
Paul, to you.
Andrew, for having me on. Am I muted?
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. This is my first time on the Online Ocean Symposium, and I had a great time hanging out with you guys. But yeah, I hope you guys, watch the episode Alien Sharks 2. I think it's on the 12th at 9 o'clock. So I hope you guys aren't disappointed, especially now. It sounds like there's a little bit of pressure for it to be a good show, but yeah, hopefully you guys watch it and enjoy it. So yeah, I'm very excited to see it myself.
Excited to see you too. Rachel, you're up next. Any last words for the panel?
Come to the second Sharkinar tomorrow. Go to our blog. You can find the link to sign up.
We will definitely be posting that link on our streams as well. But again, thank you so much for participating. Victoria, it's up to you next. Any last words?
All right. My last words would be scientists versus activists should not be a thing. We should stop trying to polarize those two groups. And we should really try to amplify in a positive way the things that we like that other people are doing. For example, if you like something like alien sharks on Sharks Week's Discovery Channel, then you should watch it, you should tweet about it, and you should make a big deal, and hopefully they'll put on more footage like that.
Here's hoping. So we talked a lot about various aspects of Shark Week. We talked about the divide between shark advocates and shark scientists, something that we actually see throughout a large different groups throughout the eco-universe. My last words for this would be definitely try to become more educated on shark issues and not just what is the most exciting show that's out there, because again, it's, as was mentioned in this panel, it might not necessarily be the most accurate. Since I have everybody on now, I want to do one last thing and just do a photo of everybody doing their quickest, shortest shark impression. We're going to do that in 3, 2, 1. There you go. Thank you all for joining. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and see you out there.